Hello, everyone. My name is Carol Shar. I'm a tour guide at the Jeremiah Reeves home in Dover, and we're home today because of the coronavirus. Everybody is sheltering in place, and so are we. This is Chester. He's helping me today. Oh, and here comes Ollie. He's going to help too. We are doing some tours of the home. They're virtual tours. And today I'm going to take you through the kitchen area of the home. We're going to see the butler's pantry. There's a little story behind that too, because we never had a butler at the Reeves home. We're going to see the butler's pantry and then go into the kitchen area and take a look at that as well, and then on into the pantry where you're going to see one of my favorite things in the house, which is, well, I'm not going to tell you. You'll just have to stay with me. So if you just give me a minute, I will meet you in the butler's pantry. Hello again. Here we are in the butler's pantry, which is conveniently located between the dining room and the kitchen. This room was used for storage, of course, so behind these doors there are lots of dishes and kitchenware and tableware, that sort of thing. We even have our large amount of table boards for the big table in the dining room stored on top. As you can see, sometimes we decorate this area for Christmas, and it's so pretty. If you will turn around and look before we go into the kitchen, on this little shelf, you'll see the antique coffee urn. This just fascinates me. I can imagine a nice steaming cup of coffee being brewed in this pot. However, I don't think we'll try it today. Let's move on into the kitchen. Earlier, we talked a little bit about the fact that there really wasn't a butler at the Reeves home. Mr. and Mrs. Reeves had a full-time housekeeper who did live in the home, and we'll see her room a little bit later on in another tour. They also had some ladies who came during the day. If they had extra work to do, maybe extra cleaning or canning or cooking, or maybe they were having a party, then obviously they needed extra help. So these ladies would come early in the morning. Usually there were 2 or 3 of them, depending on what was going on that day, and enter the kitchen through the back door, come over here to the beautiful cast iron coat rack, hang up their coat and their hat, put their parasol in the umbrella stand below it, and check their hair and make sure they were ready for the day before they started the chores that they were going to complete. They would stay maybe during the day until afternoon, late, or even as long as they needed to. And then once they were finished, they would leave and go back home. Many of them lived in Tin Town, which is the little neighborhood just down over the hill, because their husbands worked at the mill. It was very convenient for them to come and be what I call a day maid here at the Reeves home. When Mr. and Mrs. Reeves moved into the house in 1901, they moved in with this wood-fired cook stove. Most of the ladies who cooked here were very familiar with this, so this was probably a comfort to them. It also was a nice thing to keep the kitchen warm, and you could also heat your irons on it, because when you ironed clothing, you had to have 2 irons, one hot on the stove and one that you were using. Next to the wood cook stove, we see a state-of-the-art 6-burner gas range, which was pretty much unheard of in this area at that particular time. It did have 6 burners, and it also had 2 ovens and a warming oven. The top oven was kind of unique because there is a light bulb next to it that you could pull on with a chain. That would illuminate the top oven so that you could check whatever was baking in the stove or in the oven without opening the door and cooling it down. On the stove, we see some enamel pans. Those were actually manufactured in New Philadelphia. There was a company in New Philadelphia called the Belmont Stamping and Enamel Company, and they manufactured cooking utensils beginning in about the year 1910 and continuing to somewhere near the 1980s, when the company then finally closed. Workers who spent the day here at the house no doubt ate their lunch here at the table in the kitchen. And I'm sure the ladies who were cooking also used it when they were baking pastries of any kind, cakes or pies, or doing any kind of extra cooking where they needed some extra counter space. That leads us to the cabinets that we see. These are actually reproduction cabinets. They are very, very similar to the ones that Mrs. Reeves had in 1901 when she moved in. During the 1940s, when their middle daughter, Agnes, was doing the remodeling of the house after her parents' death, she took down the original cabinets and had white metal cabinets installed. Sometimes those are called Youngstown steel cabinets. In the 1970s, whenever the Historical Society took over the house, those cabinets were removed and reproduction ones were made that are very similar to the ones that Mrs. Reeves had. They have great storage in them. They're very tall. You can't get into the top of them, of course, without a ladder, but they are quite beautiful. The sink, the kitchen sink, is quite unique because it is original to the house. Now, I'm not sure if I can say that it actually was here when the house was a farmhouse, but it definitely is original to 1901. And I think I see our little mascot Jeeves hiding in the kitchen sink. The final section of our little journey today is the pantry and what I like to call the cold room. So let's take a look first of all at the pantry. On the shelves here are extra cooking tools and utensils. Was a good place to store the extra things that might take up too much room in the cabinets. We also see some canned vegetables and fruits here, home canned vegetables. Those, of course, are not original to 1901. From the pantry, we will go into what I call the cold room. This is the room that houses one of the most unique things to me in the house, and that is the ice box. The ice box was manufactured in Kendallville, Indiana, by the McCrae Company. Mr. Reeves purchased it and had it installed here in the house before they moved in 1901. The purchase price was somewhere around $320. We do have some original paperwork and books and instructions for this ice box. Just to put that into perspective, the men at the mill would have made approximately $300 a year. The other unique part of this ice box is that it has a panel that goes out to the back porch. The iceman could come and access the ice box through the back porch through a panel there and hang the ice in the center section. There is a pan then in the center section. As the ice melted, it would drip into the pan and then run down through a pipe back out to the outside. So no one had to bring ice into the house through the kitchen or take the pan of dripping sloshy water out through the kitchen. There is a section too for meat, and there are meat hooks in it where the meat was hung. So it's quite a unique piece, I believe. The ice was brought by the Dover Coal and Ice Company. So in the wintertime, they brought coal. In the summertime, they would, of course, bring the ice. The card that you see in front of you was always in the window. So the number that was on top in the window is the amount of ice that the iceman would leave on his particular visit. I hope you've enjoyed our trip through the kitchen and through the Butler's Pantry today. And I'm looking forward to having you come and visit us in the summertime, and we'll take you through in person.